Lee Van Cleef was an iconic movie star who captivated audiences with his sharp features, piercing gaze, and commanding voice. Known as a legend of the spaghetti western genre, he brought a distinctive intensity to every role he played, dominating the screen with an unforgettable presence. Yet beyond his rugged exterior, his life was layered with intrigue, surrounded by rumors and long-standing speculation. Now, more than 3 decades after his death, revelations from his son have begun to shed new light on the man behind the legend, promising to reshape how we understand both his life and career. Born on January 9, 1925 in Somerville, Lee Van Cleef came from a background far removed from the gritty characters he would later portray. His parents, Marion Lavinia and Clarence Leroy Van Cleef Sr., were of Dutch descent. His father worked as a pharmacist, while his mother was a skilled concert pianist. He left high school early but still managed to graduate at just 17. In September 1942, he enlisted in the United States Navy during World War II. After completing his training, he served aboard submarine chasers and later a minesweeper, the USS Incredible. His duties took him across the Caribbean and the Mediterranean, where he participated in operations including the Allied landings in southern France. By early 1945, his ship had moved into the Black Sea, operating out of Sevastopol for minesweeping and rescue missions before relocating to Sicily. By the time he was discharged in 1946, Van Cleef had risen to the rank of Sonarman First Class. His service earned him several honors, including the Bronze Star and Good Conduct Medal, along with eligibility for multiple campaign medals recognizing his contributions during the war. After returning home, he lived with his wife in Somerville and initially worked a regular job. His entry into acting came almost by chance when a co-worker encouraged him to audition for a local theater production of Our Town. Starting as a reader in a small theater group in Clinton, he gradually took on larger roles, including portraying boxer Joe Pendleton in Heaven Can Wait. His stage performances caught the attention of talent scouts, impressed by his strong presence and clear diction. One of those scouts, Maynard Morris, brought him to New York City for a major audition at the Alvin Theater for the play Mr. Roberts. During the audition, he was unexpectedly asked to strip down and walk across the stage, an unusual request that he followed without hesitation. That bold confidence earned him the role and marked a turning point in his career. While performing in Los Angeles, Van Cleef caught the eye of renowned producer Stanley Kramer, who cast him in the 1952 classic High Noon. Although his role was small and without dialogue, his striking appearance left a lasting impression. Initially considered for a more prominent character, he refused to alter his distinctive look through surgery, choosing instead to remain authentic. He ultimately played a silent outlaw, letting his intense presence speak louder than words. Despite being a supporting role, High Noon introduced Lee Van Cleef to Hollywood audiences and firmly established him as a natural villain, setting the stage for a career that would span more than 3 decades and define an entire genre. However, it was his unforgettable performance in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, 1966, directed by Sergio Leone, that truly defined Lee Van Cleef's legacy. In this iconic film, he portrayed the ruthless and calculating villain Angel Eyes, a role that cemented his status as one of the most legendary figures in the spaghetti western genre. Widely considered one of the greatest cult films ever made, the story follows 3 gunslingers racing to uncover a hidden fortune. Clint Eastwood plays the good, Lee Van Cleef embodies the bad, and Eli Wallach takes on the ugly. True to form, Van Cleef's character meets his end in a dramatic showdown, outdrawn by Eastwood in one of cinema's most iconic gunfights. The film is also celebrated for its unforgettable score by Ennio Morricone and its groundbreaking visual style. Leone's use of extreme close-ups combined with sweeping wide shots created a cinematic language that was revolutionary for its time, something rarely achieved by other directors of that era. Angel Eyes, in particular, remains one of the most memorable villains in film history. Many viewers have long wondered about the term spaghetti western and its unusual origin. The label refers to a subgenre of western films produced primarily in Europe, especially Italy, during the 1960s and 1970s. The name was coined by foreign critics because so many of these films were made by Italian filmmakers. According to actor Aldo Sambrell, who worked frequently with Leone, the phrase itself was reportedly introduced by Spanish journalist Alfonso Sanchez, referencing Italy's famous dish, spaghetti. Unlike traditional American westerns, spaghetti westerns often reimagined or deconstructed classic themes. They portrayed morally ambiguous characters, grittier violence, and more cynical storytelling, reflecting a different cultural perspective. Between 1960 and 1978, more than 600 films were produced in this genre, involving international collaborations across Italy, Spain, France, Germany, and beyond. Interestingly, many of these films, including the good, the bad, and the ugly, were shot using multiple languages on set. Actors often spoke their native tongues during filming, with dialogue later dubbed in post-production. While the film was originally produced in Italian, English-language versions featuring the original voices of the main cast were released internationally. When it first premiered in 1966, the film received largely negative reviews. Critics labeled it overly long, excessively violent, and deeply cynical. Despite this, it achieved massive financial success worldwide, grossing over $38 million at the box office. Over time, perceptions changed, and the film is now widely regarded as a masterpiece, praised for its style, music, and unforgettable characters. Following this breakthrough, Van Cleef continued to build his reputation with standout roles in films like For a Few Dollars More and Death Rides a Horse. He also expanded into other genres, including crime and action. Through his collaborations with Leone, he evolved from a typecast villain into a leading man, sometimes even portraying complex or heroic characters in films such as The Big Gundown, Day of Anger, and The Grand Duel. However, his career faced a major setback in 1958 when he was involved in a serious car accident near Lone Pine while returning home from a film shoot. The crash left him with severe injuries, including multiple fractures in his left arm and a shattered kneecap. Doctors were uncertain whether he would ever walk normally again, let alone ride a horse, a skill essential for Western roles. Van Cleef spent a month in the hospital, followed by an intense period of rehabilitation. Despite the pain and the grim prognosis, he remained determined to recover. Through persistence and sheer willpower, he fought his way back, proving that his resilience off-screen was just as powerful as the characters he portrayed on it. In a surprising turn of events, just 6 months after the accident, Lee Van Cleef was back in the saddle, despite ongoing knee pain and limited mobility. His commitment to his craft never wavered. He continued performing many of his own stunts, adapting his movements and acting style to work around his physical limitations. However, the challenges didn't end there. Alongside his physical struggles, Van Cleef also battled alcohol dependency. He later admitted that the pressures of fame, combined with the lingering pain from his injuries, pushed him toward alcohol. His career took time to recover, and for a period, he found himself taking on smaller roles rather than the major parts he had once secured. Gradually, he began rebuilding his career. In 1962, he appeared as one of the henchmen to Lee Marvin in The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, directed by John Ford and starring James Stewart and John Wayne. That same year, he had an uncredited role as a river pirate in the epic How the West Was Won. Later in his career, he expanded beyond westerns. He took on a supporting role in Escape from New York, directed by John Carpenter. In 1984, he starred as a ninja master in the NBC television series The Master, although the show was cancelled after just 13 episodes. Van Cleef also made a strong impact on television over the years, appearing in numerous popular series. His credits included shows like The Range Rider, Sky King, Zorro, and Wanted, Dead or Alive. He appeared in 4 episodes of The Rifleman alongside Chuck Connors, as well as in Tombstone Territory and Frontier Doctor, which starred Rex Allen. He also made guest appearances in The Real McCoys with Walter Brennan, The Andy Griffith Show, and The Untouchables. Over the course of a 38-year career, Van Cleef amassed an impressive body of work, including around 90 film roles and more than 100 television appearances. By the time of his passing in 1989, his net worth was estimated at around $2 million, earned through decades of work in film, television, and other ventures. Considering the longevity and breadth of his career, this figure reflects a steady and enduring presence in the entertainment industry. On the personal front, Van Cleef's life was just as eventful. He was married 3 times and had 4 children. He also maintained strong friendships with fellow Western legends like Clint Eastwood and Charles Bronson. The 3 actors first bonded during the filming of For a Few Dollars More in 1965, forming a friendship rooted in their shared passion for Western and action films. His first marriage was to Patsy Ruth Cayley in 1943. After 15 years together, they divorced in 1958. In 1960, he married Joan Marjorie Drain during a time when his career was gaining momentum in spaghetti westerns. The couple had a daughter named Denise, and Joan played a supportive role during the pressures of his rising fame. Their marriage lasted until 1974, when they eventually went their separate ways. Joan often accompanied Lee Van Cleef on film sets, and the couple made a conscious effort to support each other in every aspect of their lives. Reflecting on their relationship, Van Cleef once explained that they had a mutual understanding from the beginning. If Joan was traveling for work, he would join her, and if he was filming, she would be by his side. They respected each other's independence while always remaining emotionally present for one another. Despite this strong foundation, the pressures of his demanding career and disagreements over personal and marital roles gradually took their toll. Their marriage ultimately ended in divorce in 1974. 2 years later, in 1976, Van Cleef married Barbara Havalone, a relationship that proved to be his most stable and enduring. Barbara remained by his side until his death in 1989, offering unwavering support and companionship. She not only appreciated his work but also shared his love for art, bringing a sense of balance and stability to his life, especially during his later years when he faced increasing health challenges. Family remained deeply important to Van Cleef. Despite a busy and often exhausting career, he consistently made time for his loved ones. He frequently returned to his hometown of Somerville to care for his ailing mother. Those who knew him personally often described him as humble and grounded, a stark contrast to the tough, intimidating characters he portrayed on screen. In reality, Van Cleef was known to be warm, friendly, and soft-spoken. He also had a creative side beyond acting, dedicating time to painting whenever he wasn't working. His artwork often featured landscapes and Western-inspired scenes, a passion he continued until the end of his life. Years later, his son revealed a deeply personal truth that many had long suspected. Van Cleef struggled with heavy smoking throughout his life. While his on-screen persona as a rugged outlaw often included smoking, Few realized just how serious his tobacco dependence was off-screen. He frequently smoked cigars during filming, and even when cameras weren't rolling. Ironically, despite portraying a fearless and hardened image, he was fully aware of the health risks associated with smoking, but found it difficult to quit. Over time, this addiction severely impacted his health, contributing to conditions such as chronic bronchitis and emphysema. Lee Van Cleef passed away on December 16, 1989, at the age of 64. He had suffered from heart disease since the 1970s and received a pacemaker in the 1980s. Yet he continued working in films until the very end. He died at his home in Oxnard from a heart attack, with throat cancer listed as a contributing factor, largely linked to his lifelong smoking habit. He was laid to rest at Forest Lawn Memorial Park Cemetery, where his tomb bears the fitting inscription, "Best of the Bad," a tribute to his unforgettable portrayals of villains. His passing marked a significant loss for fans of the Western genre and the film industry as a whole. Yet his legacy endures, not only through his iconic roles but also through his resilience. Despite facing physical pain, personal struggles, and serious health issues, he remained dedicated to his craft until his final days, becoming an enduring symbol of perseverance, both in Hollywood and beyond.